Good morning. Good morning, all you people out there on Facebook or YouTube. Maybe you're seeing this in YouTube, or maybe you're hearing it later on in a podcast. So, either way, we're welcoming you. I'm Coach Judy of Judy Prokopiak Coaching, and this show is called Craving for Connection, and it's really about my own interpretation of this is that we are all really craving for connection to ourselves, connection to others, connection to our bodies, connection to the world, to the earth, to our purpose. Like we're all just sort of craving and seeking a deeper, more authentic connection. And so I love to bring on amazing people that embody that and that talk about their own journey of connection and what it looks like for them. Sometimes I have people on that talk about connection to food. Sometimes I have people talk about connection to their body and body image. And today I've got Rosina Fielding, and she's my new virtual friend. I'm gonna go to London one day and visit her in person, or we're gonna meet up somewhere. Once the COVID thing calms down.
Sure.
But I'm gonna let Rosina tell you a little bit more about herself. But basically, she's a multi-passionate, mindset coach, highly creative. She's done, 15 years of branding, marketing, coaching. And like me, she's really inspired and been living on spiritual principle for many, many years, understanding how these laws work in the world. And so, anyway, she's going to just join us today and talk about this authentic connection to yourself, which, I have the self leadership school. So I'm all about like, you got to connect with yourself first. You got to lead yourself first. It all starts here. Right, Rosina?
Sure, yeah. Hello,
Awesome.
everybody. Hi, everybody, and thanks so much, Judy, for inviting me to speak on your show. Yes, authentic power, authentic brilliance is so important, and I didn't realize how important it was for a lot of my life. But I want to talk to you today just a little bit about how I realized that you've really got to connect with your own authentic power before you can go out and do amazing things in the world. Now, when I live just outside London, and I've always lived in London or outside London, and I've always been a bit of a high achiever and into everything. So while everybody else was happily focusing on this and that, I've always been more interested in just knowing everything because what I love is to connect the dots from one thing to another. And it was great while I was younger, and while I was in the corporate world, it was fine too. But when I started my own business, I found it really hard to focus. And so I found myself about 7 years ago running 3 businesses, bringing up 2 quite young kids, and wanting to do it all myself. And I was crazy busy all of the time, basically. I was literally checking my phone when I woke up and when I went to bed and not sleeping much. Everything had to be me doing it. I had to do everything. Didn't want to delegate.
And
Um,
it had to be
I wanted
perfect.
everything had to be perfect, but at the same time, I wanted to be the mother who would take my kids to school, pick them up, and go to all the assemblies and concerts and things, which was really hard when I was juggling 3 businesses. And then 7 years ago, I crashed and burned. I couldn't do it anymore. My body started to show me signs that it wasn't happy, which was not surprising. Basically, I realized that I was addicted to being busy. And it was
That four-letter word, busy.
busy. Yeah, I mean, if anyone asked me how I was anytime ever, I would say I'm busy. I'm so busy.
I'm so
I'm busy.
busy. I'm so
Busy.
busy.
And it became kind of like a badge of honor, and I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that from themselves or from other people saying,
We do, right? It's
yeah,
like you're productive. It's like that means that you are really, you're really valuable.
yeah, not necessarily productive, but busy doing things.
Yeah.
So I took some time out because a friend invited me to the spa basically, and I'd been saying, no, 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 I can't possibly do that.
Too busy.
And then when I crashed and burned, I said, okay, I'm going to come to the spa with you and I'm going to sit in the hot tub and I'm just going to think. And that started, I just created space for myself, basically, not just that day, but just generally in my life. I started creating some space for myself. And it led me to my creative power. It was incredible. I started having flashes of insight about how I could do things better, like really genius ideas that hadn't been coming to me in all those years of trying to be on everything and trying to do everything. And so one day I was sitting in the hot tub and I was really eh, sort of focusing on myself and on my ideas and really opening to potential. And I just had this vision of me sitting in a resort, coaching lots of women, and being absolutely in my element. And so um, I decided to follow that impulse basically. And 6 months, 9 months later, I found myself in that position. I was in Miami, in a resort, in a hot tub, sitting there, coaching other women. And it was amazing that I'd managed to create that from just the power of my mind. So after that, I realized think something had to change, and I started the journey of beginning to focus a lot more in lots of different ways and starting to streamline my life. And in fact, we made some quite massive changes in our lives too, because we decided to um, streamline our lives. So we moved into a townhouse instead of a great big detached house, got rid of a lot of stuff, and we started traveling a lot more. We traded our 4x4 for a convertible, and we decided to just have a lot more fun and do a lot more traveling as a family. I've got a husband and 2 kids, so um, it was brilliant. We went on lots of amazing adventures, which we wouldn't be able to do now, of course, but it was really, really good. So it was kind
That
of
you
part.
couldn't do when you were busy.
No, I mean we did travel a lot,
No,
but
yeah, but
I was always on my phone, so I was always doing things. I was never switching off. Um, so it was a complete lifestyle change actually, and from that moment, my life has completely changed. And I've gone from I'm not going to say that I've gone from being totally distracted to totally focused, but I am much, much, much better than I was, and I've learned to hyper focus. I've learned a lot of tips and techniques to get me thinking very clearly for short bursts of time. Started to batch work that I do and all kinds of things like that. And I'm so passionate about helping other people now because I shouldn't have had to go through all of that to get to the point I'm at now, really.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I spent decades of my life as well, just
Mm,
a human doing,
yeah,
and a human thinking, but but not a human being, and yeah, just being busy, busy, busy. I mean, like you, a good woman doing good work in the world and trying to make a difference and helping people and as a nurse and a whatever, just
yeah.
trying to be there, but
Be there
not
for everybody else, but not necessarily for you.
yeah, right. But it wasn't, but it was exhausting, right?
Mm,
And then when you have all of these interests, which is going to segue into, where you are now, but when we have all of these interests and we love learning, and then we go and we're all in and we love this, we're all in and we want to learn everything about this thing. And then we're like, okay, kind of done.
yeah.
Kind of move on to something
And it can
else.
be years or it can be minutes. I mean, it can be anything in between.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love it. So that I love when you talk about the sort of connecting the dots and your creative power, and that is such a powerful way to sort of really tap into yourself and into life. So
Yeah.
yeah, so now talk about sort of how your work in the world, how this influenced your work in the world that you do now.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was already a creative, so I was already a designer.
Oh,
And I've been my background is in science and in design, sort of art. So I've got that sort of mix of using both sides of the brain anyway. But I could never really get to those ideas before, those amazing ideas. And then even if I got those ideas, I could never follow through. So I feel that's really, really important because it's not just for creative people um, who can draw or paint or musical and all that sort of thing. everybody has creative power within them, and I think particularly multi-passionates have a lot of creative power, but they're just not able to access it because they're so busy being busy and making excuses for their busyness because it's harder to maybe to focus, that they're not able to access that creative power. So
Yeah.
I run my
And
business through inspired action. So I have thoughts in my mind in the morning, and then I'll take that action in the day. And once you learn to do that, you can really get into flow in your life. So you can, um, and I know you understand all about this, Judy, that feeling of being in flow and everything to
alignment, feeling like
alignment,
you're
being in
doing
contact
what
with
you
the
when you're
divine.
living in on purpose, it just feels so, even if it's just for a few moments, you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
everything is flowing.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, everything comes to you. Opportunities come to you. The right person comes to you. The right words in a book come to you, and
Yeah.
you're just living in a constant state of astonishment that the right things are appearing in your life.
All that synchronicity
Yeah.
and
Mm,
all that. We had a priest, and he used to say there are no coincidences. There's only like divine intervention,
mm,
right? It's like a coincidence, but you're co-creating with the world, right? Because you are tapping in. I just want to go back one thing real quick when you were talking about this, multi-passionate, and they're so busy, and they're all of, trying to tap into your creative power. I think another piece of that, and it might be a little better now, it might be worse. I'm not really sure how it is for young people. I think it's probably even more challenging, but this sense of like there's something wrong with me because
mm.
can't figure out what I'm supposed to do in the world or who I'm supposed to be. Or, I mean, from when we're little, right? We're asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? What do you want to be like, right? And so when it seems like like we're supposed to know somehow exactly what we're supposed to do and just do that. But what I've discovered is that part of knowing what you want to do is by experiencing all of these things and figuring out what are the things that I don't love, or what do I love about that, or and then just keep, like you talked about earlier, connecting the dots and just kind of keep following those
Well,
things.
that's a really good point. When I was choosing my degree, I decided to study color chemistry because it was what I was interested in at the time. It merged kind of science with art. But since then, I've done about 8 different things. And when I finally settled on becoming a coach, it brought everything together. So now I'm able to bring in all the different aspects. So there are some industries or occupations where you can do that. So, for example, becoming a journalist, becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a coach, you can basically connect with any ideas or any things within
Yeah.
those fields. So they're much broader than some other things like becoming a lawyer or a doctor, I
Yeah.
feel.
Well, and
Um,
and I think that's what one of the things I loved about nursing as well, being a nurse. It's like I could
yeah,
do different, I could go to a different floor in the hospital. I could work in pediatrics, then I could work in ICU, I could work in the ER. I could, I could go do diabetes. Like I just was able to do, I camp nursing, pastoral care nursing, like, right. I could keep following my,
mm.
and like you say, now it sort of all comes together. Um,
Yeah, but I think I had to go through all of those. I think if I'd become a coach at the age of 20, it wouldn't have been the right thing because I'd have still been exploring a lot. So if you're a
right.
parent out there, I would suggest that you let your children follow their passions, and then every time they change their mind, keep encouraging them, because that's what my parents did. They never told me not to do anything. They always encouraged me to try something new, to start something new, start a new business, start this and that. And I'm very grateful to them for doing that. But if you're a parent, I would say definitely
Yeah.
encourage your children to do what they want to do, follow their passions, and especially if they're multi-passionate as well. My daughter's multi-passionate, and she's very focused when she wants to be,
Hmm.
and some of the rest of the time, I have no idea what she's doing. So,
And it's all okay.
yeah,
Right. She's so as long as, yeah, it's like you don't start to feel, you don't make it mean something about you, that there's
yeah,
something wrong with you, that
yeah,
you're trying new things and, you know, venturing out into other stuff and different things. But, she's been able to watch you
yeah,
evolve and grow and do different things and be successful at all those things as
yeah.
well, right? Because you were excited about them,
Mm,
right? And that doesn't mean that you wanted to do that for your whole life, but it was like I was excited about it, so I was really good at it.
yeah.
but now I'm excited about this. I'm going to be really good about this. But I do
Exactly.
agree with you. Coaching feels like such a good fit
Yeah.
for. So I think that's one of the reasons so many people love it. It's such a good fit for so many people because they're bringing all of their experience, all of their interests, all of their knowledge, all of their intuitive everything, right? All of their what back to authentic power,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? They were able to bring it, and I think that's true though. You can do that, and you can be that in any career, but you
Yeah.
have to be free mentally and emotionally to expand on that.
Let me just say something quickly about
Uh-huh.
branding yourself as a multi-passionate, because I really believe that it's a really good idea to brand yourself as yourself and to use your name as yourself, as your brand. And I've done a lot of work with entrepreneurs in helping them to decide to discover their unique genius, their unique brilliance, so that they can bring that out into the world. But it's not about choosing one thing that you're really, really good at. It's about bringing in all the different parts of your authentic power. So some of the quirky things, some of the things you don't really think people will actually want to know, could be the things that actually capture people and really get them to want to get to know you better, or they really relate to something really tiny and you don't know what's going to draw them in. So I really encourage people to put their full personalities into themselves when they're doing their marketing, their branding. But having said that, having spent a lot of time helping people to brand, what I'm most fascinated in is how you can um, change your mind, how using the power of your mind you can actually access those flow states in a better way, because I think that's at the core of the work.
Yeah.
And then the branding part can come later. If you're not connected with your authentic power at a deep level, then you need to learn how to focus first and how to get into that state first.
So
And
what did you start doing? You talked a little bit about, quieting, listening to yourself, getting kind of, doing lifestyle change. I had to do that too, like create a whole a whole new me and a whole new life and a whole new everything. So what kinds of things, did you do or do you help your clients with to sort of tap into that authentic power?
okay, so first of all, I joined the spa and I took out membership there, so I could spend a lot of time in self care. I started doing intuitive coaching, so using my own authentic power to help people to transform their lives. And that involved me being really, really, really mindful about the other person. So whereas I would have a conversation before and I'd be trying to do three different things, I would be 100% focused on that person and I would be able to see the signs they were giving off as well as the words they were speaking and really tap into their energy, so that I was able to. And once I learned to do that, I think I was then able to see the power of focusing in other parts of my life. And
Hmm.
um, I think that one of the things I started to do was to just set one thing at a time, set one thing to do at a time, one project to do at a time, um, and one thing to focus on at a time. That doesn't mean other things don't come into it, but I read a book.
So intention, putting some intention around
Yeah, yeah.
um
Well, really,
around
really focusing on one project at a time. So I don't know if you've read The One Thing.
yeah.
Um, it's about basically having one thing in your life that you're really, really focusing on. So I've got a work project now that I'm focusing on, and I've got a health project that I'm focusing on, and that's it. And so
Yeah.
for 90 days till Christmas, till the end of the year, I'm focusing on that one thing and nothing
Me
else.
too.
So, but it's taken me a long time to get to that point. Now, there's another scope within that to do different things because one day I could be creating content, another day I could be coaching somebody, the next day I could be putting stuff on my website, writing, all that sort of things. But it's all around the same topic. So at the moment, I'm focusing on helping people to find focus and flow, multi passionates to find focus and flow. So as long as it's within that realm of that type of focus, then I have a lot of scope still.
Yeah, and
You know,
I think that's exactly what, people like us are, needing,
yeah,
right? To have that really that um intention and then focus and flow. Yep, I'm doing the same thing. I'm spending this last quarter
yeah,
was very intentional around, you know, some things around my health,
Mm.
and well-being and my business, so
What really changed everything for me was actually starting to develop habits around all of this stuff and realizing
yeah.
that if you develop habits, I mean, habits just sound like little insignificant things, but when you look in, because I've been studying neuroscience um, lately, and when you look at how your brain can change, your actual brain can change and your new neuron connections can form through the power of habit, then you realize that actually when people say habits are good, they're not just saying it, it's actually changing your brain and it is making things much easier. So I'll just give you an example of when I started running this summer. I started running in May from scratch.
I remember.
Um, and my intention was not necessarily to run a long way, but just to set the habit of running. So I would go out and do small amounts regularly. And within 4 months, I found myself running 100K, 100 kilometers, just because of that habit. So I would be very, very set upon the path I was going to take. And I did it purposely to create new neurons in my mind because it was an experiment.
Yeah,
It worked.
no,
Well, it was amazing.
yeah. I'm rereading
Oh, yes.
this.
Yes.
It's such a great reminder. But yeah,
Yeah.
look at this. Tiny changes, remarkable results.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because atomic habits, I better say what it is in case this is like just somebody's listening to it and they don't see the picture. But yeah, it's and you kind of said it, you alluded to it already, that like habits really aren't good or bad. They're just what we've created to go through life, right? But some habits serve us and some habits aren't serving us anymore,
Yeah.
right?
And
And
that's,
so
yeah, go carry on.
yeah, so it's a matter of like, is this habit helping me get to my goal? Is this habit helping me live the life that I want to live? Is this habit in alignment with who I say I want to be or become?
Yeah. So
Right?
actually, why I really like Atomic Habits, because I read that before I started running, was that he talks about shifting your identity.
Yep.
So, so because I've worked with in sort of a brand identity for a long time, I'm very much into identity and self concept, and I really do believe that if you can think about yourself in a different way and become a different person first, because I told myself I was a runner, and I didn't just do it once or twice. I just consistently kept telling myself I was a runner. I did a lot of mindset work around it,
Right.
changed my identity, and then if I took a break for a week or two, it didn't matter because I was a
You're
runner.
still
So
a runner.
it didn't matter. And that's a really key part of my work, actually, the identity piece, and seeing yourself as someone who is calm and relaxed rather than someone who's really frantic.
Stressed and busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's true. Like one of the most important pieces of any transformation is an identity shift.
Mm.
Um, and support. I think those are the two major things,
Yeah,
right? Shifting an identity and some kind of support,
yeah, because
because otherwise
yeah,
you tend to struggle more.
yeah, because you've got to believe that you can do it. So shifting your identity involves breaking some of your old beliefs and creating new beliefs. And then when you add the beliefs to the habits, and imagine what's going on in your brain.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. I just want to sit on the couch.
And of course, the support and the accountability are really needed too, because
Yeah.
there can be lots of times when you doubt yourself, and so you do need people around
Yeah.
you.
I mean, we can do it. It just takes a long, long time. We are evidence of that if you try to do it yourself.
Mm,
And it's really, really hard. And, that's what I love about coaching, right? You pay for speed and perspective,
mm,
right? We're going to help you get there quicker,
mm,
and we're going to help change your perspective about whatever it is in your past, your
mm.
identity, your belief in yourself, your how you see the world. I like to call it perspectacles. Like the perspective that you instead of spectacles are like perspectacles.
And that's
Um,
a good point. I think one thing about multi-passionate coaches is that they're very good at seeing the bigger picture and to see things from a different perspective. So, I don't just help my clients to see a different perspective once. It will
yeah.
probably be quite a lot of times during one conversation that I will say, "How about this point of view? How about reframing this?" And it's just a constant thing. So it's not just like you change someone's perspective once and they see themselves in a different light. But if you're constantly doing that over the course of a conversation, then it can be quite powerful, because then that will build up and build up and build up. By the time they finish coaching with you, they're going to have a totally different perspective about their ability, basically their
Yeah.
potential.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we all have blinders and we can't see what we can't see.
Exactly.
We don't, that's why they're called blind spots because we can't see them.
Exactly.
Um, so tell us a little bit, what are, what is one thing that you want somebody, a couple of things, one or two things that you want somebody who feels like they are multi-passionate, they have a lot of interest, they've had maybe a lot of careers or jobs, or, they might have had one job and they just have all of these hobbies and interests and things. Um, but they're feeling like they're resonating with this multi-passionate kind of, creative person. And they kind of need to know, what do I do next? Where do I start?
Yeah, so first of all, come and join our Facebook group, because I talk about this thing quite a lot in there. It's called Authentic Reinvention. But actually, the tip I would give you, if you're looking to connect back with your own self, your authentic self, which I believe is the first crucial step, is to look at what you really desire. Because quite a lot of the time we're doing things because other people are telling us to. So you imagine you have all these desires to learn all these things, then you have a whole lot of people telling you should do this and shouldn't do this. And that's actually quite a lot of mess. If you just really tap into, like, take some time out for your day, give yourself 1 hour in your day, get yourself a pen and journal, and just start writing, what do you really, really desire? What would you love? And I think at the moment, when everybody's stuck at home, it's a really, really good time. Certainly, I've been doing a lot of personal development this year. Um, that you should be able to find some time, switch your phone off, get rid of your phone, give
But you
yourself
have
a
to
gift.
make the time, right? You have to make the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Like,
you have to make it. But really, really focus in on, what would you like your life to be, or who would you like to become once you once we're out of lockdown, or once we're out of having to stay at home, say in 6 months' time or a year. For me, it's all about a year's time. So I always like to see, who would I like to be in a year. Now, I've just had my birthday, and by my next birthday, I have goals that I would like to achieve, and who I would like to be by then.
mhm.
So a year is a massive time, but it's also a very short time. Um, so it's enough time to create that change with the right guidance and with the right support. It's enough time to, create massive success, even if you haven't been able to stick at something for very long, or even
Yeah.
if in your current role you haven't been able to focus to create stuff happen because you keep changing your mind, or you keep getting off topic, or not being able to think straight. Find yourself a multi-passionate coach who understands your problems. I think this is huge, actually. I've worked with a lot of coaches. I've never worked with a multi-passionate coach, so they've never really understood me.
No. Yeah.
And
They're successful because they're very tunnel, I don't want to say tunnel vision, but tunnel focused. They have a very, and that's how most people too. Even if you look at all the diet industry, right? Well, this thing worked for me, and
yeah,
so everybody should be doing this,
yeah, yeah,
right? And it's
so-
like, it's the same kind of thing, like, right? It's like you're trying to figure out yourself in the world, and then you're with coaches or mentors who, like, well, this is what worked for me, so everybody should do it this way. And I've discovered also that, like, it's, you know people are so unique, and they have their own story and their own journey. And my work is a lot about really reframing the stories, and again, like, I make up a new story. Who do you want to be, right?
I
It's
love
very,
that. I love that whole thing about changing the story. It's really
yeah, because it's like you can't become a new version of yourself if you're stuck in that old story.
yeah,
Like, right, it's really, really challenging, and I was stuck in my stories for a long time. And so I love when you talk about, like, well, who do you want to be, what do you want to be, how do you want your life to be? And I think a lot of us sometimes are just like, I'm not really sure. I mean, obviously you and I are much clearer than we used to be, but I think so many people are so stuck in who they're supposed to be, who they should be, who they're whatever. So sometimes I just say, just make it up. Like you
yeah,
say, what do you really love? Like, just make it up. No one's gonna, there are no dream police. Like you get to this, like, make it up and just say, I would love to have a food truck that sells, gluten-free waffles, whatever, right? It's like that doesn't mean that you're going to go and do a food truck with gluten-free waffles. It means, what is it about that
Yeah.
that is speaking to you, right? Do you just love, like, do you love connecting with people over food? Like maybe that's it, like, right? But it's like, what?
Mm.
And I loved having people when it's like they see something and they're like, I would love that car, or I would love that house. Right? Or I would love that. I would love to do what she does. Right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
just honor that.
And
That
then
like
when you come up with these ideas, a great idea could be to then, if you want to have a gluten-free waffle food truck, start imagining it in your mind. Start imagining what it would be like.
you feel into it.
Feel into it. Maybe it is the right thing for you, but maybe you feel that standing there in the cold when it's raining outside isn't something you want to do, but you want to have a gluten-free waffle cafe or something. You might, if you feel into something. I use this all my life. I use this since I was a teenager. Imagining my future and working out in my head before I actually did the thing. Mental rehearsal is just such a powerful thing,
Yeah.
and that
As
in
a
itself changes
competitive
the
athlete, we
brain.
did that. We did that mental rehearsal. That was
Yeah,
way back in the 70s
yeah,
when it wasn't really a thing.
yeah.
And then somewhere along the line, I forgot to do that.
Oh, well.
Well,
But I
when you're depressed and suicidal, you're not really big on imagine. You're just. I used my imagination for all the wrong things. I used it to terrorize myself instead of, But I eventually figured it out. I love that. Is there anything? What would you? Uh, um, okay, first of all, what would be your big message to the world? Like if you could put your message out in all languages everywhere in the world, what would be like maybe your one big message that you would want everybody to embrace?
my big message is, be yourself, free yourself, because, I'm a total individualist. I believe that we all have our own unique skills and talents and abilities, and that we shouldn't be trying to fit into, some other coach's ideal of what success is. We should be creating our own versions of success. So I really help people to tap into their intuition. That's what I really do, help people with. So being yourself, coming up with your own creative ideas for how you can live your own life with your strengths, abilities, and talents. So yeah, be yourself to free yourself.
It's so true. Otherwise, we are captive. We are hostages of our
Totally.
own life, and we only have this one life. We only have this one. It's not a dress rehearsal.
Mm.
Awesome. So tell people they can find you, your Facebook group, Authentic Revolution, no,
Authentic
Reinvention,
invention. Yeah.
Authentic Reinvention, and how else can they find you?
So my website is rosinafielding.com. Um, and you can find me by that name on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All the places.
All the places with my name. It's a different spelling, Rozynnna.
I
But
love
in
it. I don't know that there's another way to spell it because I don't know anybody else named Rosina.
my
So
parents made up the spelling, so it was quite nice because it's a classic name, but with an individual spelling. And I think maybe that's where I started becoming an individualist because I was always a little bit different, and I just started to play on it and to make
yeah.
the most of it and capitalize on it. So
That's so funny. I would tell you a quick story about my daughter. So her name is Ashley Prokopiak. And we didn't know this, but in 1988, when she was born, that was the number one name. She was born in April, but that year. So by the end of the year, it was the number one name. So as she was growing up, there were like 7 Ashleys everywhere she went, every class. So it was Ashley number one, Ashley number two. She
mm.
was in a dance class and she was like, I don't know, 3 years old or something. And her teacher said, Ashley number one, Ashley number two, Ashley number three, and Ashley number four. And she said, I am not Ashley number four. I am Ashley Prokopiak. And the teacher had to spend the whole time, one, two, three, and Ashley Prokopiak.
Oh, that's
And
adorable.
she's always been her own girl and her own, she is
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah. My kind of
multi-passionate,
girl.
creative. She has tapped into her creative power for sure.
Yeah, that's
Um, but yeah, so it's just been it's been a fun journey to watch her
yeah.
grow.
Yeah,
just
that's
like I'm sure for you. Well, this has been so awesome. I'm sure we'll do another one because we when we talk for like hours on end, and we're going to solve all the world's problems. But today we're just giving you a half hour of us. We reined it in a little bit.
yeah.
But thank you so much for jumping on today and sharing with us your story and your passion for helping multi-passionate people really find what it is that they're how to bring in all those passions and how to bring in all the parts of them and really tap into that authentic power and reinvent themselves in a way that they might not have seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I love it.
been really fun.
Yeah, thanks so much. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Yeah, it's Monday. Have an awesome week. Follow your passions, spend some time with yourself. What are you really craving, right? What do you need to be connected to, right? This show is craving for connection. You need to connect to your higher spirit, your higher power. You need to connect to nature. Do you need to connect to your purpose, which is kind of what we're talking about here? Like do some journaling, do some meditating, do some whatever it is to just keep moving you forward. So, and reach out to either one of us because we are here for you to help you get focused and move forward. Flow and focus. Awesome. All right. Bye. See you later. See you next time.